Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Kimness. I am Kim van der Zande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Before we start the next Soul Love conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, Activating the Flower of Love, a sacred guide for manifesting your deepest desires and highest calling. This sacred book, filled with powerful tools and activations, will guide you to open your heart to the beauty and wisdom within you, empowering you to create the life you deeply desire from the foundation of love. You can find Activating the Flower of Love in all the major online and offline bookstores in ebook or paperback, or you can check it out through my website, kimness.nl, where you can also discover the different ways of working with me and the latest updates on new starting programs. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Everyone, to a new episode of Soul Love, and today I have the honor and I'm excited to share a sacred conversation with Kathleen Joan. Welcome within this sacred space. It's really beautiful.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Yes, I'm excited to share this sacred conversation, and I love the quotes you are sharing, and I really, in a way, also feel myself in the beautiful things you share. And so it's really about embodying the divine feminine and love and being on this sacred path. But I'm curious, what awakened you to step into the mission and to step into what you're sharing in the world? And yeah.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, well, I just would like to say, when I saw your Soul Love podcast, that really resonated with me too, is because my work is so focused on the divine feminine.
Yeah.
And I just love this focus that you're bringing on soul love and loving ourselves. It just seems so important. And yeah, what awakened me to the divine feminine? I think it was really waking up to, and it was really only after I was almost 30 years old. Really kind of a reclaiming of something that I had found missing.
Mhm.
Um, what awakened me? Gosh, I mean, like, what sparks that search,
Yes.
is I have to say it was her. I mean, like she started, Goddess started reaching out to me and showing up in different ways in my life. Um, because I probably wouldn't like, I don't know, would I've come up with that on my own? Like I was raised Catholic, which is a
Yes.
I will say patriarchal, right? Religion where we're pretty much presented with exclusively male images of God. And I remember when I was like in my early 20s, calling God she in my journals privately. But I didn't know anybody else who did that.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, okay, like, sure, we could call God she, but who does that? Where are they? I don't know, right? And I didn't know. And so it was really when I was closer to 30 that like I met a Hindu guru named Amma, who is such an embodiment of love as well. She travels around the world hugging people, and she's
Yes.
embodying the goddess from her Hindu tradition, right?
Yes. She's been to the Netherlands a couple of times as well. Yes, it's very
Yeah. She was one of my first goddess images. I didn't like,
that.
I was attending her Hindu ritual, right? And it was so beautiful, and there were roses everywhere for the mother. And first I was like, wait a minute, there's roses for the Mother Mary in the Catholic tradition. So that was a connection. But I was like, whoa, we can call like there's a goddess, and we can pray to her, and we can embody her, and we can. It was such a yeah, such an awakening, I would say, also to myself as a sacred and divine feminine being,
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Um, yeah, so I think it's the claiming of the feminine as sacred that has been so pushed to the side and even erased in our Western culture, right? This idea that like we could even refer to the sacred as she, it has been really,
Yes.
so much, yeah, almost erased. So
It's a whole
yeah.
reclamation of our and it doesn't matter if we're a woman or a man, or like we
Yeah.
all have these divine feminine qualities within us, and somehow they have been pushed in many different things that have happened over eons. I think they have pushed away,
Yeah.
but it's time to also, if you look at really the ancient text, like the power that was from in this divine feminine being, like the sensuality,
Mhm.
but also just the intuitive sides and the power and the fierceness, because it's not only what I love as well in the journey that I've went through. It's like sometimes the divine feminine, we think of Mary Magdalene, but we also have Isis and Hathor and Sekhmet that have this powerful
Mhm.
warrior energy, but still fierce, loving. But there are so many different dimensions. So I think it's beautiful that you, I think in a way, for every one of us, at one point in our lives, the goddess will call us, and it can happen
Mhm.
in many different ways. But you shared around 30. I don't know if you have like
Yeah.
significant like examples of how the divine feminine was calling you to awaken that part within yourself, or what were signs or like things that were clicking into place.
Yeah, well, Amma was definitely one. This was
Yeah.
also a time in my life when I was finishing my master's degree in Catholic theology and ministry. So I
Yes.
had been on a path of divine seeking and service, right? I volunteered with nuns prior to doing the master's, and so I was like on this path where I suppose I had had, divine feminine influences, the nuns, the sisters, and Mother Mary and Catholicism, um, and I wrote my thesis on the image of Christ in women. So like clearly I was asking these questions, but I had still not referred to goddess,
Mhm.
like claim the word goddess, right?
Yeah.
Or God the mother, goddess she. And um, so one was definitely I was like graduating from this program. I was getting a job. I was beginning to teach at a Catholic high school, and here comes Amma, and here comes. I also met like I found a Lutheran goddess church in San Francisco,
Mhm.
because San Francisco is a place where you can find that in the United States. Right,
I
I was
love that.
living there at the time, and yeah, that blew my mind. It was this purple building, just this big purple
Wow.
building. I rode the bus past it, and there was this sign outside that said, "God loves all her children."
Mhm.
I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to go check that out."
Yes,
Right?
but you, what I love before we go forward, I love in already your share, like we are so being guided every step of the way, but
Yes.
like you just resonating at that moment with the purple church and the word her,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
following that, like you immediately feeling like, okay, I need to check that out. And sometimes our mind can kick in and say, okay, this is just something insignificant. No, but you were guided. It's like
Right.
understanding, like these little, sometimes they are very little nudges, but when we
Hmm.
say yes, more unfolds and more opens up. And yeah, so I'm curious
Hmm.
what unfolds further. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Well, yeah, it's funny because I'll just talk about so this church in San Francisco. You can look it up. It's called Her Church.
Mhm.
Herchurch.org is the website. Um, and yeah, I just remember the first time I walked in there. I was a little late, so the liturgy had already started, and there was a drumming priestess leading a drumming circle in
Beautiful.
the in this Lutheran Lutheran
Yes.
Christian church liturgy, and I just walked in. I was like, "What is happening here? Like something different, right? Something
Yes.
really different is happening here, and something really, really needed." And I went every week after that. Like I was hooked. I loved the drumming. I loved singing to the goddess. I loved all the divine feminine art that
Yeah.
was all the way around, and it was so different. And it just filled up this part of me that like I hadn't known was even like really dry and empty, right? Because I had lived my whole life that way.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yes.
that was just
Yeah.
a really big awakening moment for me.
Yeah. It's really a softness. Also, as you share, I feel like it's really like a warm embrace. And I think that's also the goddess and the divine feminine and the divine mother stepping forward when we
Hmm.
receive her blessing. We finally feel safe to let down our walls and to really embody and reconnect to the parts that we maybe have pushed away or have shamed, or but it's like a homecoming. It feels like also as you shared, like in this church, you
Yeah.
allowing every part of you to just fully be, to come home to this deeper truth of yourself without it almost
Yes.
feels like it cracked open, it broke open a lot of
Hmm.
illusion layers or whatever it may be, but you coming home to. So I think that's beautiful how I already like I always love with these conversations inviting people to tune into the energy as well, because so much more is
Yeah.
happening beyond these words, and I really feel like almost like cracking open of energy and really this alignment that happened in this deeper. Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's really a
Mm.
beautiful gift. And
Yeah.
how did it unfold as you allowed that energy and as you went to that church, and what kind of blessings came
Yeah.
in your path?
Oh gosh, thank you. Yeah. Well, just one thing that occurred to me as you were talking, and thank you for reflecting that because this is an energetic container
Yes.
as well, where we're kind of, but sometimes people will ask me like, well, why is it important to refer to God as she? Like, why can't we just say God? Like,
Yeah.
right? Like, why can't we just kind of make it neutral? And first of all, I don't really think that that's a neutral word. If you look at gods and goddesses, one of those is masculine and one of those is feminine, right? It's not, unless we want to really talk about like non-binary God, which is even something different,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, but it's what you said. My answer to that is usually something along the lines of what you just described, of like this reclaiming of ourselves as sacred,
Yeah.
right? It's like we all need to honor that our masculine, whatever you want to call it, energy, the masculine
Yeah.
within us is sacred, and the feminine within us is sacred. And that's the piece that's missing. So anyway, I just wanted
Yes.
to honor that. Yeah.
It's the union of both. It's not one is better than the other, or one needs to like the
Right.
union and the bringing together of. But that is asking us to fully accept. And again, I love it, your mission as well, because it's true love. It's only true love that
Yeah.
also the wall between our feminine and masculine can harmonize
Mm.
and can dissolve,
Mm.
and they can finally see each other from truth instead of like in the old paradigm way where there is like judgment and there is like, okay, no, you
Yeah.
did something wrong. No, you, because that happens in all of us, these conversations where we judge our parts of ourselves, or and it's only through love and full acceptance that we can, yeah,
Mm.
that's really
Yeah. Right. Even the walls within us
yes, it
start to
is
come
like,
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the world around us is just a reflection, of course, from what is happening here. So if we can fully
Oh, so true.
see that, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. But I guess to answer your question, I taught at the same Catholic high school for almost a decade, and I
Yes,
would go into the Lutheran Goddess Church and play music there on the weekends. So it
yes.
was this really interesting, um, up till the pandemic. That was,
Mhm.
what I was doing, and um, it was almost, yeah, it was 9 years, 8 years in person, and then a pandemic year that I was
Yes,
still teaching Catholic religion classes and running retreats for kids. And so it was interesting because I had this like professional career doing spiritual work,
yes.
spiritual ministry, right? And I could be in conversation with students about the divine and about religion, about all this, but there wasn't room to really put the goddess front and center as
Hmm.
much as I wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's funny because it's like the periods of our lives, right? It's like that worked until it didn't. That really job really supported me and sustained me for a long time to be on my own internal goddess journey.
Yeah.
Because then I could, it's like I had the stability and the foundation to where okay, I could do this work, and then I can be exploring divine feminine. And I was really involved with a musical group at the Goddess Church, and the group was called Spiral Muse.
I love
Which
that.
is still, maybe I should give you the link for that too.
Yes.
Because we wrote a lot of goddess music and
I love
recorded it
that.
and sang it. And yeah, that was beautiful. And we're still actually recording together long distance. I've moved to the East Coast of the US now. But
Yes.
yeah, so there was that kind of, that whole time was really formative for me, and like discovering that I'm really here to work with the goddess and to help
Mhm.
people encounter her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even the God is supporting you in that, because you being in that job and being in like it nurtured you and it created this
Yes.
safe container for you to go on this
Hmm.
inner exploration. So I love that as well. If you look at from the greater picture, there's so much
Yes.
happening in that space. And I also believe sometimes we are also in situations that are sometimes reflecting the contradiction or the opposites, or to also really feel like, okay, what is my truth and what, because it's not per se that one line of guidance or one line of teachings or it's not all truth. It's you tuning in with your
Right.
body, which parts resonate with you, and maybe it's one word or one sentence or one
Mm,
beautiful phrase or one whole book, but it's really, and that's what I love, it's all of us coming back to the combination that is ours in unique
yeah.
ways, and the codes that we are here to bring forward, but it's these things that remind us. So it's not per se like you stepped out of the box like it needs to be this. No,
Hmm.
you stretched and first in your own cocoon and then
Yeah.
allowing it to safely expand, because sometimes that also when we crack open out of this safety mechanism too quickly, like all our bodies go into stress fight, and we were not allowed to, or like we stop ourselves from expanding.
Right, right.
So I
Yes.
love again the divine feminine holding space, you being in that container to create
Hmm.
this alignment and this expansion in a safe way, so that we can
Hmm.
also, because our body is also an important part. When we go too quickly, our body just freezes and it needs
Right.
a little, like our soul just runs and knows the way, but our body needs a little bit
Boy, is
more
that true?
time. So
I
I love
know
that.
I get
Yes,
impatient with myself, but it's like, no, like we really, like
yes,
my body needs to integrate this. My
it
being needs
is.
to integrate this,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's really true. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually, as you were saying that, I got this kind of cool image of even like, a more masculine divine, if you will, kind of being the holding the
Yeah.
structure
Yeah.
for me as I was exploring and awakening kind of the goddess energy within, right? So that
Yeah.
was like a neat, there was support there,
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. But we need that because we're creating something new and this new earth way of being, and we're pioneering something we have not experienced before. And that, yeah, it's
right?
really, and that's again coming back to we need both in balance to move
Right,
forward and to, yeah. But now you're
right.
guiding beautiful groups in awakening the divine feminine. And I don't know, like,
Yeah.
if there's one message that you feel really guided in this moment, like what is so important for everyone to hear and to feel and to experience and to explore in themselves?
Hmm. Right now, what's coming up is about this idea of union, like
Yes.
particularly, I work with women from Christian backgrounds who want to integrate the goddess into their
Mhm.
spiritual path, right? Because she's been so missing and so denied. But more and more, what I'm discovering is like, not everyone wants to walk away completely from their Christian roots, and you don't have to.
No, yeah,
Right?
no.
So that's like been a really beautiful kind of integration for me in my own journey. Is like,
Mm.
you don't have to abandon your heritage. You don't have to walk away from any piece. Actually, it was a therapist who said that to me. She was like, you don't have to let go of
No.
any piece of anything that resonates with you. I was like, really?
Yes.
Like,
I love that.
you
Yes.
mean I can have it all,
Yes.
right? And not the heavy, gross overlays of patriarchy, right? That are really oppressive. Like, no, we can get rid of that.
Yeah.
But we can, yeah, continue to connect and resonate with whatever pieces of our religious heritage matter to us.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, and for me as well, that's about the embodiment of, like, when you embody the goddess in every
Right?
area you come, in every conversation, in every interaction, in every place, you embody that and you share these codes. And that's also as you evolve. It's not per se about making sure someone else has your point of view and this is my truth, so it
Right.
also needs to be your truth. No, you can really just that's what I love with you as well. Like, you just share from your own experience, and
Mm,
sometimes it will resonate with someone and sometimes not, and that's also okay. But when you then go back into those spaces, you get to inspire, and you never know how one spark, maybe someone just gets
mm,
an idea, and maybe for now it doesn't resonate, but you still planted a seed for something greater, for a more balanced, harmonized way of being. And I think it's understanding, like, I love just in general, like also people being really in these 3D structures. We need light there, like little seeds that
mm.
crack open the
Yeah.
old ways of being. It's not per se only being in spiritual or communities, because there's already beautiful light and we understand each other, and that's truly a gift. But it's also
Mm,
our mission, I think, and our purpose to, not in words, but to bring the energy of our being into other spaces, so that also there the energy slowly starts to evolve and crack open, and maybe people start asking questions, because there's so much power in questioning instead of only
hmm.
being like, okay, no, this is the truth. I have learned it this way, so it always needs to be this way. No, just ask questions like, okay,
Right.
is this true for me? Or what else is possible? Or what are the things that I want to discover? Or yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful as you go back into those spaces. You give people the opportunity to ask questions, to not, because that is growth and that is, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's actually one, well, I won't say that I intellectually like consciously chose Brigid as the patroness of my ministry. She
Yes.
showed up and she chose me, right? As far as I just heard the story of Saint Brigid
Yes.
at when I was attending the Goddess Church in San Francisco, and it was exactly what you said, because Brigid, she was an ancient Celtic goddess, right? She was the goddess of the sun and of fire,
Yeah.
and her priestesses would tend an eternal flame to
Oh,
Brigid,
wow.
right?
Yes.
And when Ireland became Christian, they didn't get rid of her. They kept her, but they just kept her as a saint. And there was an actual historical person named Saint Brigid who
Mm.
started like a women's convent, like it's actually a double religious order, men's and women's, which was
Oh,
really
wow.
unusual.
Yes.
Yeah, excuse me. But they just brought that light of the goddess right in to Catholicism. So within the convent, and specifically the women, the nuns of Saint Brigid tended the flame of the ancient goddess. They
Oh,
kept
wow.
that flame alive within their convent, and you can still go see it today at there's Brigidine sisters in Ireland. And so that to me was like a huge, like when I heard that story, that just sparked it. It was like that. Like we keep the flame of her alive
Yes.
wherever we are, no matter where the context is and what's going on. And yeah, it's a sort of allowing that to survive and to thrive and to spark however she needs to be expressed here and now.
Yes, I love that. I've never like I've known Brigid from her name, but I never really known about what she represents and the flame. So I
Hmm.
think that's a beautiful. As you shared, I got goosebumps. But I'm curious, like how did the connection with Brigid and holding this flame, how did that transform your life, or what did you experience in differences in your connections and yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would say, well, Bridget's flame, how did it transform my life? It gave me sort of a name and a container and like
Yes.
um, a motivation or a sort of main, I don't know, yeah, energizing idea for the work that I wanted to do, right? Which was this idea of, yeah, of kind of maintaining the goddess flame, tending the flame of the divine feminine no matter what surroundings we're in, whether that is, you're going to church every Sunday or you are worshiping goddess out in the woods with your pagan circle or like whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, all I remember is like I heard the story of Brigid several times probably, right? Over and over when I was at this church. And there was a time in 2019, so pre-pandemic, that I remember like commuting to work and just feeling like this heart energy just like lit up
Yeah.
inside of me. It was like Bridget's flame. Oh my gosh, Bridget's flame. Okay, what is Bridget's flame? I was
Yes.
like, something was just, it was this like inspiration and download. And it was funny because then I thought, well, maybe I should ask Bridget's permission to like use her name. I don't know her very well, like it, but it was funny. It was like I almost just kind of got this intuitive sense of like, you know
Yeah.
me. You
Yeah.
don't need my permission. Like we've
Oh,
been
yes.
connected,
Yes.
right? Like we're already on a
Yes.
wavelength.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you to do this, go.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was very she was just kind of there and really sparking and lighting up, this flame of what I wanted to do.
I love that. But sometimes it's also like for our human minds, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like you got activated, you got awakened in this deep remembering of something you have maybe been doing for many, many, many lifetimes. And it's really
Mm,
following those sacred yeses, those inspirations, those
mm.
full body experiences where we feel beyond the mind that goes to interfere, like, okay, what is this and who am I and why is this
Yeah.
happening? We need to really follow like it, and I love that. And also
Mhm.
as you did that, like your whole like what you're offering right now and how you're guiding others is created from you saying yes to that
Yeah.
feeling each time, like beyond what your mind thinks is needed, or you followed this body, full body yes that just
Hmm.
sparked like, okay, Bridget, yes. And then like the curiosity comes and the deepening, but it's by this initial yes. So I really love, because that's so important. Sometimes we can just
Mm.
dismiss this like, okay, but it's so profound, and in that so much opens up, but it's us
Yeah.
being brave enough to go beyond what the mind labels it at, and then go on this exploration of collecting codes and awarenesses. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to learn the practical skills to do the thing, right? It's like
Yes.
the this is funny because this saying is popping up in my mind from my very Catholic days when people used to say, God doesn't call the qualified, I'll use he in quotes, he qualifies the called. I was like,
Love that.
okay, whatever, right?
Yes.
But what that has translated to in my life now is like, yeah, there's this immediate, these sort of intuitive inspirations, right? Of like the divine feminine, just light, like when you get that inner sense of being lit up by something, like,
Yes.
yes, this is it, that full body, yes. And then I remember walking into my band rehearsal with my musical group, and someone else there had recently started a business, and one of the other members, and she was talking about getting it all set up and blah blah blah. And again, it was this huge download, like this, like immediate yes, like that's what I needed to start, like of starting a business. Like
Yes.
I just felt the click, everything came online, and then my brain went, what the I don't know how to start a business, right? I
Yes.
have zero. I was an English major in undergrad, theology degree, like I have zero.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing, right? So I hired a business coach. That was a good move, right?
Yeah.
Because like I just
Yes.
had no, I did not have
Yeah.
the practical skills. to have an online business. And so that's been the journey, right?
Yeah.
Is that we get these inspirations, we get the sense of the call, and then it's like, well,
Now the
to
learning
do that,
starts.
I'm gonna learn a lot. I'm gonna have to
Yes.
learn a lot, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So
I've noticed it in my own journey as well. But it's all about, as we say yes, then the growth starts and the learning, but it starts with us saying yes. And then, yeah, but it's also, again, letting go of this idea that everything needs to be perfect or we need to know it immediately, because the
yeah.
divine feminine way is all about, okay, I receive the inspiration and I allow it to
Hmm.
grow through my
Mm,
embodiment or through my experiences or through, but beautiful things unfold. I noticed that with my podcast as well. I think it's almost now one
hmm.
and a half years from this recording that I was in Glastonbury and I received the inspiration for a podcast. And a week later, I started my first podcast, but I didn't know
Yay.
anything about podcasting. But so
Right.
many beautiful things unfolded through me saying yes and not wanting it to be perfect and just sharing from my heart and everyone else and connecting with beautiful souls like you. And yeah, it's really following this. And I think also that's this new earth way of, okay, before we needed to have all the 10-year plan and the steps and the structures, and now it's just we go as as we're being called, and sometimes that goes beautifully and sometimes not, but that's also okay, because through that we learn and yeah, so it's letting go of the perfectionism and yeah,
Yeah.
also needing to know everything that needs to happen, because in that it's still the
Hmm.
control. The divine feminine way is really okay.
Yes.
And of course, you need some 3D structures, knowing how to build your website or like that. But for the rest, it's really like, okay, show me. And that's also what I'm being guided. It's such unknown territory. Each day, it's like, okay, show me. But I'm being stretched beyond my comfort zone and beyond what I thought was possible. But it's so amazing if we
Mhm.
then look back, like also for you, if you look back from now to 2019, the steps, the growth. Sometimes we are so focused on
Yeah.
moving forward. But if you really look back, like,
Right.
where did I came from and see what I've now, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Actually, as we're recording this, I'm I'm remembering that we are in the middle of like two full moons in Capricorn, and I one of my favorite astrologers that I follow um, is Martha Hines, and she talked about like this, yeah, the kind of the container of these two full moons in Capricorn, and I mean, I'm not an astrologer, but just like
Yeah.
what I've picked up
Yes.
about astrology over the past several years is like Capricorn does have that energy of like climbing the mountain. But having two full moons in Capricorn in a row, to me, it's like really able to this moment where we've kind of done some mountain climbing and we're able
Yes.
to look back and be like, dang, like I've come a long way.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's yeah, that's maybe true for all of us in our journeys. Like we can get impatient, we can be like, oh, why am I not over there now? But like if you look back from where you started, wow,
Yes. Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, back to, 20 years ago when I was calling God she in my journals, and I did not know a single other person who did that.
Yes.
And I remember longing for like, I didn't even know how to phrase this. I didn't even know how to imagine it, but like, really, it was a longing for women's circles,
Yeah.
for like communities of women. Yeah, like
Yes.
maybe like out in the woods or something, like dancing around a fire. I don't know. Like, I
Yes.
wanted some sort of wild feminine energy like that, right? And now I lead, wild women circles at the new moon, and we're connecting with the divine feminine
Yeah.
and allowing however we want to continue to relate to any Christian backgrounds that we may have, right? Because that
Yeah.
doesn't have to go away. But
No, it's the openness of all. Yeah. But it
hmm.
was again like you then writing she. There was the seed. And
Yeah,
that opened up in very beautiful things. And I really love, like, I want everyone to tuning in now in your moment, like look back at your life and see these
yeah.
pivotal turning points where you decided to go beyond what the mind thought and really followed your sacred yeses and see what unfolded, but also to celebrate really how far you've already come, because our society is so conditioned on, okay, the next goal, the next vision, the next, like, we're never there, we're never, but it's really about embracing who you are in this now moment, and celebrating how far you've come, and the obstacles overcome. And as you shared, like the Capricorn mountains that we've
Hmm.
already had. So I think that's really
Yeah,
such
right.
an empowering message. But I love you as well, like in the way you shared, like going back to the woods and really dancing. And that's
Yeah,
for me, like in the, if you see like the evolution of the energies around divine feminine or feminine energies, it really came back to this, okay, this holy mother, like this. But now it's time to allow also like these more exciting energies to awaken, like indeed
yeah.
dancing, just feeling like, okay, there are no limits to the expression and really our sensuality and our power and our voice and our emotions and our expression. Like there's so many energies that have been dimmed there as well. Like, don't be too much, don't be too loud, don't like, and really claiming our beauty in every area of ourselves, whether again, man or woman, like we all have that. And it's really allowing this expression to happen from a more embodied state and root and really from our heart instead of the mind that is so I think that's really beautiful, dancing everywhere. And yes, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for naming that, because like, embodiment and sensuality, sexuality, like these were some of the things that I felt most limited by in a patriarchal religious setting, right? It was like absolutely that. It was like turn down, actually one time, I'll tell you about my fire extinguisher dream. One time I had a dream, this is when I was attending the goddess church and kind of really like excavating, like where is the divine feminine been and where is she within me and this. And I had a dream where someone told me, you had a fire extinguisher installed as a child.
Wow.
Everyone did.
Yes.
That's what this guy told me in a dream, right?
Yes.
So like, whoa, yeah, really the divine feminine in a patriarchal religious setting, I was not able to claim, particularly it was that wildness and embodiment and sensuality, sexuality as a woman and the sacredness of that. Like that's what I really, really had trouble accessing in that setting. And so I mean, the divine feminine, like she opened that up for me to viewing all of those parts of myself as sacred, which like rather than all of the other labels that get put on that, right?
No ceilings anymore on because it's your life force energy as well. It's allowing the full body expression to happen. And I love then, because a fire extinguisher, it's almost then coming back to, as you shared, Brigid's flame. Just say, okay, no to this fire extinguisher. It's time for something different. And it's also, again, that's what I love about the divine feminine as well. It's having compassion for that fire extinguisher, that it has been there for a while, but now it's you choosing from your full awareness for something different. Because sometimes we can then start to judge, and then our focus goes again into the past instead of really, okay, yes, you've been there, and now I've become aware of you, and now I'm choosing to elevate. And so I think that's really, really beautiful. And as we're almost coming to a place of completion, I don't know if there's anything else you would like to share to everyone tuning in, to empower, to inspire.
My favorite message is always, she lives in you.
Yes.
She lives in you, right? And whatever that means, I mean, the more we live into that, right? Like what does it mean for her to truly live in you?
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. For the divine mother, divine feminine.
Yes, she lives in all of us. I love that. And she's ready to fully bloom and blossom.
Yes.
I love that. So I want to invite everyone to tune in. Like I will share all the information below. So if you want to check out Kathleen's offerings and website and Facebook and like your beautiful music, I will add that as well. So you can find it below the video or audio, whatever way you're tuning in. And I want to say thank you for being you, for sharing this sacred time. Everyone, you, Kathleen, and everyone tuning in as well. Share, like, be you and share your uniqueness, and take a moment today to celebrate how far you have come and to really be in this place of compassion and celebration for everything that is you. So I'm looking forward to the next Soul Love podcast. And for now, much love. See you next time. Bye. Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.